The date, Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. These are the headlines for today. Orion, the spacecraft, has been traveling towards and around the moon since Wednesday, November 16th. So far, everything going on well, exceeding expectations. Artemis I is just the beginning, humans to live on the moon in this decade. And COP27 ended with pledges from wealthiest nations to help compensate poorer ones for the devastating effects of climate change. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to MW Newscast. My name is Michael, and these are the details for today's stories. Let's start with Artemis I halftime mission updates. Following a successful launch on November 16, NASA's Artemis I Orion spacecraft mission to the moon continues to proceed as planned and so far exceeding expectations. Today, Orion is 14 days into its mission as a test flight around the moon that will pave the way for astronauts to board the next missions, Artemis II and Artemis III. The following are some important milestones. By the third day, Orion was more than halfway to the moon. On Sunday, November 20, the spacecraft entered the lunar sphere of influence, and the following day, it swept approximately 130 kilometers, 80 miles above the lunar surface. On Friday 25, Orion was put on a distant retrograde orbit insertion burn and was traveling opposite to the moon's direction around the Earth, and will remain in this orbit for about a week. By Saturday 26, Orion surpassed the record set by Apollo 13 for the farthest distance traveled by a human-designed spacecraft. The journey is not only technical, but Orion is also providing magnificent images and videos, drawing a line across history, connecting the groundbreaking visuals of the Apollo era with the more advanced camera equipment of Artemis. While there are no humans on board, the spacecraft is far from empty and in fact has a few famous passengers: Snoopy, Shaun the Sheep, and Commander Munikin Campos, all accordingly dressed for the journey. The Artemis era is just beginning, but the Earthrise image may stand as a memorable moment in humanity's quest to return to the moon. Next, the aim is not only to return, humans will be living on the moon within this decade. If the Artemis I mission is successful, then the next will go back with a crew, followed by a third in which astronauts would land on the moon again for the first time since the Apollo mission 50 years ago. Returning the Orion module safely back to Earth is one of the most critical phases of the Artemis I mission. Once the safety of Artemis I's components and systems have been tested and proven, the plan is to have humans living on the moon in this decade. Humans should be able to stay on the lunar surface for extended periods doing research and science. NASA is already working on human habitats and rovers suitable for the lunar surface environment. Scientists will try to find water at the satellite South Pole. If water exists, then that could be converted to provide fuel for spacecrafts going deeper into the space. Mars would be the next stop. Immense universe, so much to discover. Wonderful! Now let's switch back to our reality. Climate change, COP27, takes a step towards climate justice. The 2-week-long United Nations Climate Conference, COP27, held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, concluded earlier last week. The participating UN countries have reached a historic decision to establish and operationalize a loss and damage fund. The fund is expected to support for losses arising from droughts, floods, rising seas, and other disasters attributed to climate change. According to a report by the Loss and Damage Collaboration, 55 of the 58 nations included in the Vulnerable 20, V20, a group of developing nations, which includes Kenya, the Philippines, and Colombia, suffered climate-related economic losses of over $500 billion in the first 2 decades of this century. The next step calls for the formation of a committee to work out details, such as how much funding each country will contribute, which financial institutions should contribute, and how the money will be distributed. It is expected the fund to start paying from 2025 onwards. Let's see how it works. And that's all for today's edition. Thanks for watching M2Newscast. For more interesting stories, subscribe to my channel. Once again, my name is Michael. Have a wonderful day.